It was expected to be an exciting match between Bayer Leverkusen and Bayern Munich, and Bayer Leverkusen drew first blood, but in the end, it is the giant Bayern who came out on top in this one and are one step closer to their 8th straight title. Shaka Hislop joining me now to talk about this game and focusing on that man, Robert Lewandowski, as well. First of all, Shaka, do you think Leverkusen could have done themselves a few more favours today after taking that lead? Do you think they got their game plan right?
Yeah, without question, they could have done themselves a whole lot more good, especially as you talk about the top 4 finish and Champions League qualifying for next season. And not often you're given a head start against Bayern Munich. And I thought Leverkusen started well, which we've seen from Dortmund a few weeks ago, and we all know how that ended up. But you won up, you're defending relatively well up to that point as a team. You're not allowing Bayern Munich the counter-attack. And then you go and give the ball away cheaply in midfield. And once Bayern got that equalizer, then, Leverkusen didn't have an answer. It was all one-way traffic, and Bayern were at their awesome best.
Bad news before the game for Leverkusen was the absence of Kai Havertz, a muscle injury for him. We'd seen that he was a bit touch and go, but there's been some cynicism that it's because it's against Bayern that he didn't feature. Does this actually really happen in professional football?
Yes, it does. And I'm going to add to the cynicism here, Key. Listen, you understand the position that Havertz is in. And you also understand that there may have been these gentlemen agreements even between the clubs. So this may not just be down to the player. But it happens. And I think it happens quite frequently. And in many regards, you wonder if it's best. Because had Havertz had a nightmare, had he had a bad game, had he scored an own goal, then the speculation would have been even more venomous, and it's probably for the best that things went this way.
Suspensions in the next game for Lewandowski and Muller, does it matter?
Not from what we've seen so far. Listen, ordinarily you take Lewandowski and Muller out of not just this Bayern team, but any team, and you figure they would struggle to make ends meet. But as you look at Bayern, the mood they're in, since the restart, when, I certainly, for one, questioned how good they'd be. It was all a question of regaining form. They've now scored 17 goals in the 5 games since the restart. If anybody can lose 2 of their best players and seemingly not miss a stride, it's this Bayern Munich side.
And especially, before we do get to Robert Lewandowski, the man who set him up for his goal, his 30th goal of the season, was Thomas Muller. And that's 20 assists for him this season. That's fantastic figures, isn't it?
It really is. It's probably about par for the course if we think of Muller 5 or 6 years ago and how important and influential he was to this Bayern Munich team. But then, 18 months, 2 years ago, many questioned what his correct position was, whether he had a future at Bayern Munich. And now all of a sudden you see the return. And this is that's the Thomas Muller that we all fell in love with. Somebody who occupies those spaces better than anybody else. That makes it impossible for the defense to adjust to, and doing what he always does best. And one of the best things about Thomas Muller, as we've seen him almost grow up before our very eyes playing in the red of Bayern, is that huge smile of his. That he still enjoys the game as much as he ever has, still as hungry as he ever was, and is producing like we know him too. And that's good for us as neutrals, good for us as analysts, great if you're a Bayern fan, it's terrible for everybody else.
Okay, not to go against any of the other goal scorers on the day, but let's talk about Robert Lewandowski, because that's 30 goals in the league season for him, 44 overall, which is a personal high for him. He's just 10 goals shy now of that record of Gerd Muller. And now he's got one less game to try and get those figures in. But let's not forget, Shaka, this is a guy who scored 5 goals in 9 minutes. Is it possible that he can equal or surpass that record?
Absolutely, it's possible. And as I mentioned, given how Bayern have been scoring since the restart, they're going to be racking up huge numbers between here and the end of the season, regardless of who that opposition may be. And that Lewandowski is going to be front and center to that, bar the one game, as you mentioned, Kay. And as you mentioned, there's nothing that Lewandowski cannot do as a finisher. And when you find Bayern in the kind of form that they're in, when the opposition is still as uncertain and reeling as everybody's come before them has, you put nothing past either team or individual.
I have to just give a nod because it's another great game for him. Alfonso Davies, once again, on fire today.
Yeah, I mean, he is simply frightening. And during the course of that game, I was looking at Davies and Kingsley Coman operating down that left, and you just want to reach out and hug every single right back in the game. I mean, it is a frightening duo. The kind of pace and understanding that they have. Alphonso Davies with his runs from deep, and then if you focus on him, the way that Kingsley Coman finds channels as well, they're an incredible duo. But Alphonso Davies, as you mentioned, Kate, just continues to define that position, a position that maybe was alien to him 2 years ago, and continues to get better and better.
And finally, with their head start to play, and I know I've asked you this before, I'm going to ask you again, are Bayern the team to beat in this year's Champions League?
What we've seen so far, and especially given what I was saying before the Bundesliga started, that you just don't know how teams are going to come out of this enforced break, given the fact that they have quite a bit of a head start now in terms of their own match fitness and readiness. Yes, they are. All cylinders are firing. Everything is ticking for them. And bar something catastrophic, bar injuries, and bar one of Europe's big clubs coming out of this break better than anybody expected. As we sit right now, Kay, I don't see how they can't be favourites.
An 8th straight title is in the sights for Bayern Munich, and a couple more trophies up for grabs to add to that. It really could be quite the season for them.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN+.